So the article begins here, chances are we have all experienced scent branding, even if we didn't realize it.
Really?
Yep, so that's true. This phrase, chances are, means it is likely that something. So if we say, chances are that you or someone you know likes to play Pokemon Go, then we say, yes, it's likely that you or somebody you know, a friend or a family member, likes to play Pokemon Go. So chances are you've experienced scent branding.
That's right. And yeah, we said experience there is the key verb from that sentence. E-X-P-E-R-I-E-N-C-E is how we spell this word experience. To experience, it means basically to be there for something, to feel something, to see something, to be in the presence, or to be somewhere at a time when something happens. If you experience a live concert, that means you're actually there. You're not watching it on TV. If you experience a feeling, like the feeling of fear or joy or love, that means you've actually lived through something where you did actually feel that. You're not reading it in a book. You're not remembering a story from another person. It was your life. It was your time to be there. It was your experience. For example, what would it be like to experience what it's like to fly through the air like a bird? Ooh,
that would be cool.
Most people don't get that experience.
Yeah. So the article continues and says, even products can be a part of this type of marketing, which we've kind of talked about.
Yeah.
It gives an example. It says, such as Play-Doh.
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 Oh, the children's construction clay.
Yeah, you kind of make it into all sorts of stuff. It's different colors.
Oh, it does have a very special smell.
It does. Now there we mention the word product. P-R-O-D-U-C-T. Product. Product is a noun and it's basically a thing made by a company. Something that is produced, which is the verb that relates to it. For example, this electronics company makes a number of different products. iPod, CD player, computer parts, and so on.
Things that we buy or
Yes.
products. So let's look at this smell that is associated with Play-Doh. It says a researcher named Martin Lindstrom did a study on the smell of Play-Doh. So they've actually researched the smell. And what did he find?
Well, he found that children recognized the scent. Remember that word from yesterday? Children recognized the scent right away, and adults who smelled it immediately thought of their own childhood.
Yes.
Another word from yesterday, immediately. Straight away they went, oh yeah, that reminds me of, like we were talking about the smell of cut grass yesterday, reminding me of mine. Now we saw the word recognize there as well.
That's right. This verb is spelled R-E-C-O-G-N-I-Z-E, recognize. It's basically to see something and to identify it, to know what it is. How do you know who your friends are? Well, you'll recognize them. If you're walking down the street, you'll see a person, they're the right size, and then they might turn around and their face is that person's face. That's why you say, hey, that's my friend, because you recognize them. You can recognize things by seeing them, by hearing them like a favorite song, or by smelling them. You might be able to recognize the smell of your own house or your own bedroom or something like that, because everything has a smell or has a special look or a special sound, and if you've come across it before, you'll probably recognize it.
For example, I recognize this song, but I can't remember the name of the singer.
Oh, I hate that.
I've heard it before. We also saw the phrase right away in that sentence, which means exactly the same as the word immediately we looked at yesterday, at once. For example, please call an ambulance right away. This man is having a heart attack.
Oh my gosh, immediately,
Immediately,
yes.
right now.
No time pass. Back in the article, it says Samantha Goldworm of the scent marketing firm 12.29, if I'm saying that correctly.
1229,
or 1229, says that successful scent branding takes local culture into account.
Okay,
yes,
so
marketing
smells that kind of mean a lot more, maybe more to British people, Canadian. So the smell of maple syrup, for example, may just get you feeling nostalgic and homesick.
No.
No? Okay.
Not really.
Oh, well, there
But
you go.
it could, possibly.
The smell of fish and chips might work for me.
Ooh, I would like that smell more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now in that sentence, we talked about this lady who works for a firm.
A firm, yeah.
Now, normally we see firm as an adjective, but here in our article, firm is a noun. It's spelled the same way, F-I-R-M, firm. And a firm is a business concern, and we especially use it to talk about a partnership of two or more people. We talk about like a law firm, for example. Another example is, this public relations firm has a number of very famous clients.
Oh, interesting.
They
So
represent a lot of celebrities.
Yeah, and firm is very similar to the word company.
Pretty
talking
much,
about a
yes.
business organization. We also had a phrasal verb there, to take something into account. Now, to take something into account means to include it when you're making a decision or when you're making a judgment, right? So if you're taking things into account, you consider all of the things that could affect your decision or your judgment, and you're thinking of all of them. For example, you know, if you're taking a trip to the beach, you might have to take the weather into account.
Absolutely.
You can't just assume that it will be a beautiful sunny day. What if it rains? You have to take these things into account or include them when you're thinking of everything when you're trying to make a good decision. For example, it's important to take local laws and customs into account when you go traveling. Yeah, for example, take your shoes off when you go to people's homes in Japan. That's their culture. Take that into account.
And it's the local culture that this firm is taking into account when they come up with their smells. They're thinking, what is going to be good for local people, or what is going to be bad for people in this area? The article explains a bit more and says that people tend to like the smells that they grew up with or find in their environment.
They recognize them.
Yeah, that makes them feel, you know, it reminds them of childhood, makes them feel at home, all of that kind of thing. Calls up pleasant memories. Now, in that sentence, we saw the verb tend, T-E-N-D, tend. And if you tend to do something, it means you regularly or frequently behave in a particular way, or we say that something has a certain characteristic that it displays pretty often. For example, I tend to drink tea in the morning and coffee after lunch.
Oh, that's what you
That's
usually
my regular
do.
habit, so I tend to do that most days. Cup of tea in the morning, coffee after lunch to kind of wake me up for the afternoon again.
Yeah, so things you usually do or generally do, you could say you tend to do. Back in the article, it's, for example, light, airy smells work best in the US. So light, airy smells like lemon or something very fresh, kind of like that. While laundry smells work better in the UK. The smell of laundry soap or clean clothes.
Yeah, like the sort of smells you get when you do a wash.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Works for me. Well, like we said, airy. Something that's airy is kind of like fresh air. So it's a smell that's not too strong or too heavy. It kind of makes you feel like you're outside, or the windows are open and there's a bit of a breeze. For example, the rooms in this hotel are well lit and airy.
Oh, okay.
It's not too stuffy. It's like, I'm out in the open. It's clean, it's fresh.
Very, very nice. However, it continues and says, she says that companies must be careful not to use too much scent in their stores. Yeah, you don't want to overpower the customers with very, very strong smells.
Yeah.
And that did actually happen once, didn't it?
It did indeed. The article says, for example, in 2010, people complained about the smells being too strong in Abercrombie and Fitch's stores.
Really?
So they went in there, and, this, the smell's too heavy. It's too much like flowers, maybe, which is okay in small amounts, but when they really overpower it, you just get a feel a bit uncomfortable, stuffy, almost sickly.
It's making people sneeze, and the biggest problem, of course, making them leave the store very quickly.
Maybe they felt they couldn't breathe or something. Well, they complained.
They would, absolutely. When you complain, this verb is spelled C-O-M-P-L-A-I-N. Complain. When you complain, basically you tell someone that you're not happy with something. There's something you don't like. There's something that's not meeting your expectations. I don't like this. This is too bad. You said I could do this, but now I can't do that. You're unhappy. You complain. You express what you're unhappy about. You tell people what you're unhappy about. For example, we complained about the poor service to the manager of the restaurant. The waiter was rude. There was a fly in my soup.
Bought
They
the wrong meal.
Burnt my steak. It was very bad, and we told them about it. We complained.
Okay. So the article explains that the brands, that's the kind of products or stores, we talked about branding, the brands that have been most successful in scent marketing use subtle, appropriate smells.
Very, very cool.
Okay. Subtle is an interesting word because it's spelt quite differently from how it sounds. It's spelled S-U-B-T-L-E, but we say subtle, so the B's silent. And something that's subtle is hard to notice, hard to describe, usually because it's quite delicate, it's understated. It just kind of affects you, but you can't quite say how it does. Okay, for example, I didn't notice at first, but this restaurant has made some subtle changes to its decoration. So maybe it's made a few small changes, put a few flowers here, moved a poster here, changed the color from like lime yellow into sun yellow.
Very interesting.
That's a subtle change. Something that's not a big change, so it's not, oh, it's obvious. So obvious is like the opposite word.
So there's just a little hint of something there if it's subtle. And something that's appropriate, that adjective is spelled A-P-P-R-O-P-R-I-A-T-E, I should say. I tripped over myself there. When something's appropriate, it fits the circumstances. We often think of clothing as something you need to be appropriate with, or your behavior should be appropriate. Clothing and behavior. For example, if you're going to a wedding, don't wear a bikini and play loud rock music.
Unless it's a beach wedding.
Unless it's a beach wedding and it's a rock and roll beach wedding. But it has to fit the circumstances. Generally, a wedding might be in a church or something. You wear formal clothes. You have to be very sort of quiet and dignified and respectful. That would be appropriate. It would fit the situation. For example, you need to wear appropriate clothes to a job interview. Again, swimming suits probably are not appropriate.
No. The article kind of finishes by saying, after all, the nose knows what it likes. Careful there, because we got two noses, one with the noun and one with the verb. We also saw the phrase after all, which means in the end or when everything is considered. For example, we'd better leave soon. After all, we don't want to be late. And we need to wrap up this lesson now. After all, it's time for our For You Chat question.